This is Maritess.
Neil.
And this is Laura. Welcome to MedSurg Moments, the AMSN podcast.
This podcast is an engaging look at the lives of and surrounding medical surgical nurses.
We're proud MedSurg nurses, just like you, sharing our stories, insights, and experiences to support you in your nursing journey. Our topic today is, who are your nurse heroes? But as always, before we get started, let's play a little Rose and Thorn. Laura, why don't you start us off?
I think the last time we were all together, we were discussing our New Year's resolutions and kind of looking over the past year. And I have done a lot of reflecting lately about a new start, a new year, and what's going on this year. Family is doing well. So I guess that is a great rose for me. The main thing that is brand new in my life, and I think I mentioned this before, is that I started my doctoral journey. I'm a week into my first class, and I'm going to count this as both a rose and a thorn because I am so excited to get started on this, but I am not adjusting well to having homework and assignments and reading and all of that goes along with going back to school. But again, very exciting, just going to take some adjustments. Maritess, what's going on with you?
Laura, I want to start off with, I am very proud of you. You're going to do great. I know you are. I'll be your cheerleader, a listener.
I may take you up on that.
Yes, please. One of the thorns is that I think I mentioned previously, we plan our year. We plan the whole year. We even plan our meals for the whole year. And I consider it as a thorn now because we're looking at our calendar. It's so full. I need to plan my rest. That's what I need to do. So we were looking at it and I was telling the kids, if you wanted to do something, there's really no room here. We planned our travels. I won't say because, I don't want to jinx it, but we planned an out of the country travel this year, 2 actually, and including AMSN conference. So I hope all of you, all our listeners, you already planned for that too. But I see that as a thorn because there's no wiggle room. So I'm going to have to revisit our calendar, look at it again. I know that's a struggle, but on a positive note, we've scheduled a lot of volunteering hours, not just for myself, but for my kids. So it's a family affair. So I'll share one of the things that we did recently. As a family, we volunteered in the Feeding South Florida. So they do have a program wherein the little kids can actually join. And so I do have a 6-year-old. So he's there with us. He volunteered. He's the one who's putting the numbers in all the boxes because that's what he can do. He can't mess up with the expiration dates. How about you, Neil? Anything you want to share?
Plenty of roses and thorns. Just like Laura, another semester of school has started. 3 classes till I finish my MSN in nurse education and trying to get the paperwork ready for my practicum and figure out what project I want to work on. So yes, thank you. And kudos to you, Laura. It's the first step's usually the hardest. And then like you said, it's like, oh, I got homework now. Right before I was doing this, today was the first day of class. And so it's logging on and looking at the syllabus. And Maritess, I commend you for doing the whole year plan. I do a month by month seat in my pants, especially when it comes to school. You ladies know it's like pivoting around on a different discussion board, project, or reading. Last time I was able to see you, I had to reflect on my brother's passing. And my brother always says, like, you're always working, you're always doing something. And I just decided to smell the flowers a little bit more, smell the roses of life. And I did something really fun. A group of us nurses and family and some friends, instead of doing something for Christmas, like everyone always buys each other stuff, it's almost like exchanging money. So we kind of put some money together and believe it or not, we went to the beach, Myrtle Beach, for New Year's. And for the first time, and I've always wanted to do this back up home in New York City in Coney Island, I did a polar bear plunge. There I am in 40-degree weather, head under the water, jumping in at the beach. And it's one of those things to remind you you're alive. I want to be that guy that comes to the age of 70 that has those great stories of like, there was one year I did that polar bear plunge. One of the last times I was with my brother when he was relatively healthy, I just said, I'm going to the beach and I'm going to go hang gliding. And it was great. And I just promised myself for New Year's to smell the roses more. Today's topic is, who are your nurse heroes? To get us started, I thought I'd share with you the inspiration behind why I chose this topic. Nursing's in my DNA, it's in my blood. My father was a nurse. Unfortunately, his mother passed when he was in high school, and she was a nurse. On my mother's side, her father was a nurse after he was a medic in the Army. I have an aunt that lives locally who's a retired nurse, and I have a male cousin who's also a nurse. And so there was no fighting in my DNA that nursing's in my blood. I look at my father, who was my inspiration. He was in high school when his mother started having complications from multiple sclerosis. And he was the eldest boy, and since his dad was working to try to provide for the family, he would go and take care of his mother through high school. High school is our time where we're out having fun, but there he is helping not only people, but his mother. And shortly after that, he was drafted to go to Vietnam, where he ended up being a corpsman for 2 tours of duty in the USS Repost and the USS Comfort. After that, he came out and put himself through nursing school and returned to serve veterans at the VA hospital in Manhattan for all his career. Even during that time, when I was 19 years old with my cancer diagnosis, he knew where to get me and where to put me in, and the best course of action had that extra input that a nurse's brain sees all the time. And even after that time, he was in Manhattan during 9/11. And guess what? The VA hospital doesn't say, hey, you're not a veteran, don't come in here. And he even said, you can see who had seen time in war. Till the day he had to retire, he was always serving others as a nurse. And anytime I felt down and out about being in nursing school, or those days where you come out of your job just feeling like, what just happened in there? I always drew inspiration how brave his fight was for the last 10 to 15 years with his Parkinson's, knowing full well what the end diagnosis ends up being, a failure to thrive. And so seeing early what a difference you can make, whether it be in your family, for your country, for your city, for others, by being a nurse, really inspired me when I changed careers.
Wow, Neil, that's an incredibly inspiring story. It sounds like you definitely do have that in your DNA. I don't know that I have nursing in my DNA, but I definitely know that nursing was a calling for me, a calling that I ignored for a very, very, very long time. I went down the path of chemistry and biochemistry, and I took a detour into some other activities. But I can remember being in the hospital having my first child, my daughter. And I was 28 years old at that point. So I was married. I never thought I would change careers. I mean, even to me, 28 now seems like a baby, but back then I felt really, really old. I spent 4 days in the hospital because I had a C-section. And I had 3 days with the most amazing postpartum nurse. She was incredible. I was so inspired by the way she cared, the way she displayed empathy towards me. She was amazing. And the very last day, I had the worst experience. My discharge nurse was absolutely horrible. And I remember how she ruined that whole experience for me because I left the hospital not feeling prepared. It was horrible. And when I went home that night, that's when I realized, okay, you know what? I can be a nurse because I know I can be better than that nurse. As bad as she was, I would kind of mark her as one of my heroes because she definitely showed me and gave me the confidence to switch careers and get on path to being a nurse. Once I made that decision, everything fell into place. I thank her. I know that sounds very strange, but I do. I thank her because I don't think had I not had that experience, I don't know for sure that I would have ever made the decision to go into nursing. Now, once I got into nursing, I've got a million people that I could list here as my heroes because I look for inspiration everywhere and it's all around me. But I have two nurses in particular that came to mind immediately when I saw the topic for this podcast. Their names are Shirley and Sheila. I was an older nurse, 35 years old when I graduated, and I was on a medical oncology unit. When you first start on that unit, they gear you towards the medical surgical side, and the oncology unit was like the premier unit. You had to be specialized. I felt like you had to have certain gifts to work down that unit, and I never wanted to work down that unit. But of course, eventually I had to go down that hall and take care of those patients. And these two nurses were the most caring nurses that I have ever witnessed. These two nurses taught me how to use my empathy, how to really connect with patients. It was an amazing display, and I learned so much from them. And the one gift that I am so grateful for is that as experienced as they were never afraid to say, you know what, I don't know the answer to that question. Let me find out for you. And so it let me give myself permission to not feel like I had to be perfect. So I thank the both of them from the bottom of my heart for showing me how important and how much of an impact we can make on our patients.
Laura, I love the fact that you mentioned their names because it is so true. We see inspiration every day. As a nurse, we see it from our patients, from our colleagues, but to be able to really recognize a special person, it's something that we carry every day. These are special individuals who are very special to us, who gave us meaning to what we do. So I really appreciate you sharing that. I do not have nurse DNA either, Neil. In the United States, when they see a Filipino like me, they always say, "Are you a nurse?" And I would say, yes, but I'm not good in that. Surprisingly, in our family, it's only me and my cousin who are nurses. She's actually the one who inspired me to become a nurse. I wasn't really going to nursing. I was already in physical therapy, and that was my first career. But when my mom got hospitalized, my cousin actually told me, this is the reason why I'm a nurse. Because if you're a nurse, you know everything. And when she said that, I'm like, that's some superpower. That is some kind of like you're taking charge of the ship, which is true. It's absolutely true. And that really inspired me. A year after, I told my mom I'm going to nursing, and she supported me all the way. When I was a nurse in the Philippines, it was a very difficult job because you have to take care of about 35 patients in one ward. Your unit is divided into two. You have the male ward and a female ward. Each has 35 patients. If the other nurse didn't come into work, then you have two units. You have 70 patients. And I always tell myself, why did I do this to myself? Why? I know I'm that kind of person. When I own it, I know I need to do a good job. And I think all nurses are like that. We all think like that. We always want to do a good job. My cousin is always my hero with that. She would always say, just do your best. It's going to get better each day. So that's my philosophy all the time. It will get better every day. I will get better every day. I just need to move forward, keep doing it each and every day. Another nurse hero that I have is when I immigrated here in the United States, Dr. Tom Madayag. He is my nurse hero because he is my role model. He has immigrated to the United States. He's from Florida, and I said, I'm going to go to Florida too. Mirroring what he did. He did family nurse practitioner. I did too. He did his doctorate. I did too. On days that I'm struggling when we were starting here in the United States as immigrants, it was really hard. The struggle was hard because it's new environment. It's not that you didn't have the experience as a nurse, but new equipment. a lot of technology that I had to adjust with. I thought I'm already good with technology, but it's not really. And so I always go back to him and say, what did you do? How did you do this? And then I have a third nurse hero, Miss Nancy Hilton. She is my mentor when it comes to nursing leadership. Amazing woman, very poised all the time, very intelligent, very diplomatic. I think I need to learn more about that. Every time I'm faced with a dilemma with leadership, I always ask myself, what would Nancy do? So our nurse mentors are really our heroes. We see heroes each and every day, absolutely, but these are special individuals who spark our nursing career, gives you back a reflection. Why are you a nurse? Why are you serving others?
And actually thinking about that, Maritess, I'm glad you mentioned those other people along the way. I wouldn't be here today if, looking back, even though I met her later in my career, Tracy King, and I've mentioned her name a bunch of times on podcasts. Like I said, she recruited me to be an assistant nurse manager, which I would never have thought in a million years. She's the one in her scrubs, and she'll put her little lab coat on when she has to, but she's out there moving beds and helping get people on and off bedpans as the manager of the unit. And she taught me so many little insightful tidbits about leadership, management, just those little things that you can't put in a textbook. I always say that you're either just a great leader or you align yourself with one to inspire and draw that leader out of you. And so when I look at my professional career, like Tracy King is the person that inspires me to do better. I wouldn't have had the opportunity to be on this show, to go to the convention, do review questions for the test, if it wasn't for her inspiring me to go further. And you just don't become a nurse and that's it. I can't even imagine. Honestly, Maritess, like, kudos to you. Like, we don't think about it. You come to a different country where there's just a whole different culture. I don't even know about if they have CNAs over in the Philippines. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I know. So like my aunt, that's a nurse, she always says, like, we didn't have CNAs. We did everything. And that wasn't even that long ago. She was a nurse. I also think of two of my instructors through nursing school. Mrs. Bloomfield used to teach at Catawba Valley Community College up in Hickory, North Carolina. And Bernice Pritchard that taught me at Forsyth Tech. And I always call them my nursing moms. My mom's a great mom, don't mistake it, but there's always that test you have that you're like, how did I do that bad? Or am I really fit to be a nurse? Do I want to do this anymore? This is like hazing. And both of them would just remind me to believe in myself. And they knew my bedside manner was impeccable. And they knew how great I was in clinical, but we've all had that struggle on that academic half. I always wished I had either one of them with mother baby. I have to say, mother baby was not my thing. I love my daughter. I saw her birth, but I knew I wasn't going to be a labor and delivery nurse. We also think of our heroes as those people that pulled us through our dark times in the trenches of nursing school. Anybody have a professor of theirs that they remember fondly like that?
My professors were wonderful. They were all great. I don't have anything bad to say about where I went to nursing school. And I liked what you said, Neil, about how they recognize your bedside manner. They recognize that you had that skill. That's half the battle. If you don't have that ability to connect with your patients on a personal level, it doesn't matter how good of a nurse you are, how much you understand about the nursing and the medical aspects of it. You have to be able to connect with your patients. And I think those are some of the best mentors that I've ever had, are the ones that recognized that in me and helped me to focus on that piece instead of my insecurities about my abilities as a nurse when I was brand new and I didn't know anything. I had to be kinder to myself and recognize that I deserve to be where I am. I earned the role. I earned those letters behind my name, and that the rest of it was going to come eventually. But they kept focusing on my abilities, my passion for wanting to be at the bedside, for wanting to help people. And they helped me to see that in myself. And I really, really do appreciate that. And I still hear those voices in my head.
All right. I like when you said that you earned those letters behind your name. Because as nurses, sometimes we don't think that way. We think, oh, we finished, we graduated, these are the credentials. Like until now, I don't even put my credentials in because we sometimes don't think that is important, because you're right. The way you connect with others is the most important thing. And I agree with what you say. It's half the battle. And I'd say this because I also handle the nurse residency program. I see them every day. And so when I see that I need to coach someone, I say, the secret really is to really connect with them. If you do that part, and I think this is why nurse faculty instructors should also emphasize that, if you recognize in nursing school that they're not really that person, can you tell them go to IT or probably go to...
Or to work on that skill specifically.
Thank you, Laura.
It's a skill.
You need to communicate, not just the verbal, but the non-verbals. I really enjoyed when you share that, because if you really want to be a nurse, you really need to know your worth, because yes, you earned it. You earned the title.
Maritess, a great point. And I always think back to that great saying, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. For our listeners out there wanting to be more of a nursing role model, what would be your advice? How can they start being a nursing role model?
The one thing I think about when I think about being a role model is to keep people moving forward. I think we all know that nursing have to commit to lifelong learning. You have to continuously keep up with your education, keeping current with what the trends are, what's happening in medicine. But you also have to think about yourself in the future. What do I want to do? How do I want to make myself better? Is it attending a seminar? Is it getting a higher degree? Do I want to hone my leadership skills? But having someone that listens to you talk and can figure out how to channel your passions, they can inspire you to do things that you might not consider for yourselves. So I think a good role model is going to recognize when you are good at something or when you're passionate about something, and they can help you set... I don't want to use the word goals, because I know goals sometimes has a negative attitude or a negative connotation for some people. But setting a goal doesn't have to be something formal. It can be something that you say to a friend, and your friend is going to hold you accountable.
I agree with you, Laura. I mentioned Nancy Hilton a while ago. She's my mentor, and she would always ask, what's the next step? What are you going to do next? And I'm like, there's none, Miss Nancy. I'm saying where I am because I need to smell the flowers, just like what you said, Neil. I need to stay put. I'm okay. I'm fine. But she would always say, there's something else that you can do. Got to keep thinking of that. There's something. You have so much potential. So thank you for sharing that.
I always think of nudging, a gentle nudge. Trace would always said, have you ever thought of, and it's like, oh, you could drag a horse to water. You can't make them drink it. You have to let them buy into it. Same thing with patients. You talk about, you can't just here's your medicine. Hey, you want that chest pain to go away? You should take this nitro. And I think the lesson I learned the most from Trace, there was two awesome ones. And one was, it can't hurt to ask. I'm a kid of the 80s. And I remember Charles Barkley had that great Nike commercial when he used to get in some kinds of trouble. He says, I'm not a role model. And the thing was, he was doing a lot of things wrong in the press. And that was my biggest fear, was what if I make a med error and I'm somebody's role model? You don't have to be perfect to be a role model. But the most important lesson is how to accept responsibility. And let me tell you, staff, leadership respect you so much more when you own your mistake and when you actually reflect and learn from that mistake, can say, hey, I realized maybe that did come across a little strong because I wasn't hearing it from the other person's perspective. I know what I meant to say, but this is how it came out through that email. And there was another thing I learned about myself, and sometimes I get it wrong. She had a great question, Tracy, and said, what's a misperception of yourself? And when I'm in my go mode, when I'm in a code, my New York comes in and I'm into the give me this, do this, that, as opposed to, hey, could you please pass me the... And that's where sometimes I do get it wrong because I'm so direct, and catching myself in those direct moments. I remember having to move beds on her unit, and I just get into that mode of hey, let's move, let's go. And if I'm hyper focused on it, pleasantries are out the door. And that's not necessarily right or wrong, but I have to realize some people may perceive that as he's barking orders again, he's getting loud. And so sometimes it's okay to be wrong and not be perfect, but then humble enough to say, hey, I really didn't mean to hurt your feelings, and I'll be more sensitive next time when we're working in this environment when it's intense.
Neil, when you said about admitting that you've made a mistake, I know when I used to be a manager on the unit and I would talk to a new staff member while I was trying to do that gentle nudging, and they would reveal their fears to me, and it's something that I had made a mistake on, I would share my story when I made a mistake, when I had poor judgment, and I would explain what happened and what I did to get past that. And sometimes I think that in itself can be effective for someone to alleviate their fears.
It's okay to get it wrong. It's just make sure we learn a lesson from it. Well, believe it or not, we're out of time, but we hope this episode got you reflecting on your own nurse heroes and perhaps has inspired you to reach out to them to say thank you. I promise it will make their day. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.
We look forward to connecting with you on the next episode of MedSearch Moments, the AMSN podcast. In the meantime, we want to hear from you. Send us your questions, topic ideas, and feedback via our official MedSearch Moments email address, amsnpod@amsn.org. That's amsnpod@amsn.org.
I'd also like to remind you to become a member of AMSN or renew your membership at www.amsn.org. You receive lots of cool benefits and perks, such as discounted pricing on the annual convention and continuing education.
We encourage you to help us spread the word and subscribe to the MedSearch Moments podcast via your smartphone podcast app to receive notifications of future episodes. Please be sure to leave us a review and recommend MedSearch Moments wherever you get your podcasts to help us reach even more listeners.
I invite you to join the conversation by sharing your ideas and questions on AMSN's Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, or Twitter pages. And don't forget to add #MedSearchMoments to your post. Simply enter AMSN in the search field on any of these social media platforms to connect with us.
The content within the MedSearch Moments podcast represents the views, thoughts, and opinions of the co-hosts, may not necessarily reflect the views, thoughts, and opinions of the Academy of Medical Surgical Nurses.
Until next time, this is Laura.
Neil.
And this is Maritess. And always remember, MedSearch Moments is a moment in our lives, a moment in our MedSearch careers that makes a huge difference.